Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints coming off the bye are headed to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. And this is one where if the Saints win it, I understand why the metrics show them taking a commanding divisional lead. Pro Football Focus, we shared this with you, has a graphic up that if the Saints win this game against Atlanta on Sunday, their odds of making the playoffs are 80%. If the Saints lose to the Falcons, it drops to 44%. But that makes sense. If you win this game, you have a 2-game lead in the division with the tiebreaker with 6 to play. When you're talking about teams so dramatically inconsistent, it's hard to imagine a team like Atlanta getting on a run and winning 4 or 5 in a row. Now, the Saints could certainly do their part and lose 2 or 3, but having both of those things happen simultaneously makes it very hard to believe. So I'm not saying the Saints would wrap up the division, but you would be just about there with a win to get you to 6-5 on Sunday if you're able to get it. But what's going to be really interesting here, obviously, is the Falcons' offense, with Desmond Ridder being reinserted as the starting quarterback. Here was Dennis Allen on Friday talking about that Atlanta O.
Well, look, I think they have, a lot of players from a skill position that, present a lot of different challenges. They line up in a lot of different areas. They got a lot of guys that can do a multitude of things. Their backs, Patterson and Robinson, both those guys will line up in the backfield. They'll line up out wide. They'll run typical kind of running back routes, and yet they'll run, wide receiver routes too. So I think that, along with their receivers, Pitts at tight end, I think all those guys present some challenges.
For a team that has as much skill, that has as many great skill position players as Atlanta does, they should be better than 24th in the NFL in scoring offense at 18.9 points per game. Atlanta should be better offensively. They're not, because they're missing everything but the engine. You have this beautiful sports car built that just doesn't have the engine to make it go. You don't have the quarterback. And I don't know that I believe Desmond Ridder is that guy. Now, Arthur Smith was asked if this opportunity to sit and watch, now being reinserted as the starter, has changed Desmond Ridder's perspective.
His perspective has been, again, I hate speaking for him, and you can ask Des, obviously you guys will, you'll talk to him. But that's, I think, looking at him again, I feel very, very good about where he's at. I think it's, again, he handled it well, which is not an easy situation to do, and I think his best football is ahead of him.
Desmond Ridder made his first career start. The 2 games he started down the stretch last year, he was 2-2 down the stretch last year. The first one he started was a game against the Saints, and he was asked to sort of look back at that game playing New Orleans a year ago.
Last year was, first game, going down there. No clue what NFL ball is going to treat me. Now I got my toes in the water. Been around it a block or two. And so, like I said, now it's just exciting, ready to get back out there, obviously, to have the opportunity to be back out there. Just going to take full advantage of it.
There's got to be a degree of desperation for Ridder, but also a degree of curiosity for Atlanta. They have to make a decision if Desmond Ridder is a guy that they feel like can develop into being their franchise quarterback, or if he's a guy that's going to be a clipboard holder throughout his NFL career. And this final stretch for Atlanta, this final 7-game stretch, has got to be the test case there. And it starts against a divisional rival that is your biggest rival, and you're going to play twice every year, whether Desmond Ridder's with you or not. So, yeah, it is a massive opportunity on Sunday for Desmond Ridder at home against the New Orleans Saints, and he's got to make that offense go. I just haven't seen enough from Atlanta to think that's going to happen. Now, the Saints' defense at times has been really good this year. Sometimes it's been half to half that they've been really bad and then really good. And they've played a lot of bad quarterbacks this year as well. Where they've been susceptible is allowing quarterbacks to run. Now, I don't know that Desmond Ridder is that guy that's going to beat the New Orleans Saints with his feet. I think if you're the Saints, it's pretty obvious. You load up, you try to stop Bijan Robinson, you stop Cordell Patterson from running the football, and you make Desmond Ridder beat you with his arm. The Saints don't have Marshawn Lattimore, so you're a little thin in the secondary. It's just hard for me to imagine that offense, Desmond Ridder, just picking apart the Saints defense. Could it happen? Yes. The Saints are a very average football team. You are average. You are 5-5 through 10 games. You are a 500 football team. That's where they're going to end up. So that's why there's nothing that's a given with this New Orleans Saints team right now. But you do have Derek Carr coming out of the concussion protocol. There's no Mike Thomas, as we know. But this is a Falcons pass defense that's 8th in the NFL. The Saints pass defense is 7th in the NFL. Their passing yards allowed are literally separated by 1 yard. The Saints allow 199 a game. The Falcons allow 200 a game. So ask yourself this question. Which offense do you think is more likely to get going against the other team's pass defense? The Saints with Derek Carr and Chris Olave. No Michael Thomas, obviously, but you have Rashid Shaheed, and you've got Juwan Johnson and Alvin Kamara, like that offense, or Desmond Ridder pulling the trigger with, yes, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. I like the Saints. And I also like them coming off the bye. I will put stock into how much success Sean Payton's teams had coming off the bye during his tenure, and Dennis Allen carrying that forward now. So I don't think it's a coincidence that New Orleans last year won 3 straight coming off the bye. Look, they had some things go their way, right? They got to play Philly on the road in Philly without Jalen Hurts. They were playing Gardner Minshew. You played a game up in Cleveland when it was 10 below, and it was like a 13-10 ball game or 13-3, whatever it was. So you got some things that fell your way, and this may be another one of those where you get to go on the road and play Atlanta when they're reinserting Desmond Ridder into the lineup, and they just don't have the engine to make the car go. So the line started open with Atlanta as a 1-point favorite. It's gotten bet to New Orleans side where the Saints are now a 2-point favorite. And I do think it's a close game because divisional games generally are. And I also think a lot of the familiarity defensively leans and weights to the defense as well with Ryan Nielsen and David Onyemata and Caden Ellis. When you know the personnel, both offensively and defensively, that's going to neutralize a bit. So divisional unders are always a popular play. The total in this game is 41.5. And I think you do see a game that ends up in the high teens, low 20s, where both offenses at times have scuffled this year. I think both defenses have been generally pretty good. And being that it is a divisional game, I think you're going to see a lower scoring game. But I do like the Saints to go on the road and get this done. I think the Saints beat the Falcons in Atlanta in a close ball game, move to 6-5, bury the Falcons down at 4-7, and that put the Saints with a pretty commanding lead in the division. I don't think the Saints are going to get hot. I don't think this is one of those things where they're going to go rattle off 5 of 6 or anything like that, or 5 of 7. But I do think they go to Atlanta and get this win on the road on Sunday. Give me the Saints to beat the Falcons on the road. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.